G'day, welcome back to the channel. Submissions have closed. That's it. Everyone's had their opportunity to have their say. If you haven't, shame on you. And I had a quick look. The AMA put up a video this morning saying, oh, it's fantastic. We've had 50,000 submissions on this subject. Woohoo, woohoo. You know, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how out of touch are you, AMA? Because if we look at the numbers, I'm just so disappointed. The AMA itself has 180,000 members, so even if every single one of those submissions was unique and it came from an AMA member, over 2/3 of the AMA membership are saying, we don't care enough to even get off our bums and make a submission. So the majority of the AMA support the NPRM by implication. But it gets worse. Hold on, it gets a lot worse. Now, I've been trying to find out how many people have registered with the FAA as drone flyers or owners. All I can find are the number of drones that have been registered. The AMA or the FAA are not publishing those things. I went to the Verge, and the Verge published a story, which I'll link in the description of this video. They published a story over a year ago in which they claimed that 900,000 people had registered, but maybe that was 900,000 drones had been registered, because it's all very muddy and blurry. And on the FAA's own page, where they do UAS by the numbers, they have conveniently omitted that number. I don't know why. But let's assume, I mean, they're saying there's a total of 1.5 million drones have been registered. Let's say that it is 1.5 million people have registered their drones with the FAA, in which case that 50,000 figure looks abysmal. It's 3% of all the people who own or have registered drones with the FAA, 3%. And as I say, we've got some powerful lobbying corporations working against us in this thing. We've got the Amazon, the DHL, the Google Wing, all those companies with their spin doctors, their highly paid PR people and lobbyists who are going to turn this around, and they're going to go to the politicians and the public and say, 97% of the people who own drones support this NPRM. How can they say that? Well, because 97% of the people didn't get off their fat backsides and make a submission. And it's even worse. I mean, you think it could get no worse? It does get worse. Realise that a lot of the submissions, thanks to people like myself and others, came from outside the USA. They weren't actually in that 1.5 million figure. They were from people overseas. So the actual number of US residents and citizens that commented is probably a whole lot less than 50,000. Also, a lot of people have said they commented multiple times, which they're fully entitled to do, which means that the number of unique comments, or the number of people, unique people who commented, is, we're maybe talking only about 35,000 people in the USA who can be bothered commenting on this NPRM. That just means they're going to ride roughshod over the wishes of those people, because out of 1.5 million people, 35,000 is nothing. It's nothing. So, I thank and I fully support all those people who could actually be bothered getting off their backsides and spending just a few minutes to put a submission in. And I also support and I thank all the people from around the world who came to the support of the Americans who are going to be completely disenfranchised by this NPRM when it goes through. And yeah, I don't know. I think what this has proven to me is that the community of model flying and drone flying is nowhere near as cohesive as we would like to think it is. It's also nowhere near as big. I think a lot of those 1.5 million people who've registered with the FAA are not members. They're not keen, they're not passionate. They've got a drone. Legal requirement says you've got to register. So they're registered, that's it. They may never fly that drone again, but they want to be sure that just in case they do, they're on the right side of the law. They're not the passionate people. They're not the people who drive this hobby. They're not the ones who go out there and share it with kids and with other people and promote it and support it. But no, I think when we come to those people, the number is so woefully small. In fact, it's probably just that number that we saw making submissions. I think everyone who's really passionate about the hobby has made a submission. And many of them have made more than one submission, and many of them have made submissions from outside the USA. So in America, I think it's pretty safe to say there's probably only 25 to 30,000 people who are actually passionate about this hobby. That's quite a shock, quite a shock. And I think that if you look at it like that, then the politicians, they won't give a damn. 35,000 votes is nothing. It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. They don't care what we think. So where are we going to go from here? Let's look at what I think. Well, I'm going to tell you what I think will happen. I've got a crystal ball. You've probably noticed it by the way that I walk rather strangely, but I do have a crystal ball. I'll look into the future. I actually predicted that there'd be about 50,000 submissions, and there were 50,000 submissions. I was right on the money with that one. And I think the FAA will respond as follows. First of all, there has been a huge outcry from the traditional hobby. You can't kill the hobby. And the FAA, they will listen to that because they'll get pressure from politicians and so forth. And they'll say, oh, yeah, okay, we messed up. We are going to reallocate freers on a regular basis, every year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So the hobby is safe. Now, we've also got the STEM and educational community saying, hold on, we can't teach our kids about aviation and the technologies if we can't fly in our own schoolyards. So the FAA will also come out and say, we're going to give limited freer status to any school that applies for it. That limited freer status. That means these people will be able to fly their little quadcopters they build in STEM classes outside in the playgrounds, in the sports fields, but under quite a bit of restriction. They may not exit the boundaries of the property. They probably can only fly to 100 feet. There'll be all sorts of restrictions and controls imposed on them with those limited freers that the FAA will authorise. Apart from that, stuffed. I think you're stuffed. I think that the lobbyists and the big money is basically going to bulldoze the 3% of drone owners who oppose this thing, and everyone else is going to have to fly legally or just, well, give up the hobby. I think it's a tragic day for the hobby when I saw those final numbers. It is indeed a tragic day. Maybe I'll set up a flying area in New Zealand, and there goes my phone, a flying area in New Zealand, and invite you all to come and fly with me. It's about the only thing you'll be able to do. Hey, a tourism opportunity here in New Zealand. So once that horrible virus has done its thing, then you can all come and fly here with me. Have a good time, because you'll be buggered. So what do you do now? If you're in America, what do you do now? Well, make the most of the time you have left. Get out there, do a lot of flying. But please, please, whatever you do, fly safely. Do not do things that are going to bring a bad spotlight on the hobby, because again, these lobbyists, these corporations will be looking for every opportunity to go to the media and say, see, this is why we need remote ID. Anything that happens that is bad, they'll use it as justification for pushing through that remote ID thing. We don't need that kind of press. We only need positive press. So if you're going out there and flying, be safe and respect the fact that the future of the hobby remains in your hands. Everyone else, any one person that does a bad thing is effectively doing a bad thing to all the hobbyists in the country. There you go. Not much else I can say. I hope I'm wrong. I so hope I'm wrong, but I fear I'm not. There you go. Comments to the commenting bit, please, because this is, now that it's all closed, what do you think? Were the numbers totally, disappointing? Again, let me point out, AMA, 180,000 members. They're all, but why didn't they all make a submission? What's wrong with the other 100 and, well, let's say 30,000 AMA members made submissions. What's wrong with the other 150,000 members? Why are they sitting on their backsides? Flight Test came out and said, oh, you've got to make a submission. And they claimed they had 800,000 subscribers in the USA. 800,000. Why couldn't even a few % of those people get off their bums and make a submission when requested to do so? You tell me. I think we're grossly overestimating the size of our hobby. I think it's much smaller than we think when we're talking about the people that are passionate. So there you go. As I say, do the commenting, but thank you to my Patreon supporters. I couldn't have waged or helped wage this campaign against the NPRM without your support. I've put in a lot of time. My inbox is so overflowing. I've got emails going back a long time that I haven't had a chance to look at. Let me just look at the numbers. 8,870 unread emails in my inbox. Honestly, that's how bad it is. I have just been working with so many people in so many countries with so many perspectives and takes on this thing. And fortunately, I think a lot of people did listen to me. I said, leave your submissions till the last minute, because just a couple of days ago, it was 30,000. Now it's over 50,000. So, hopefully I played some part in this. I wish I could have played a bigger part. But my Patreon supporters were really, really fantastic, because it gave me the time to spend doing things like this rather than chasing money through YouTube. There you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate every one of you. Bye for now.